Hello, Streakers, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are listening, we hope you are having a fantastic day. Today, we have an exciting episode in store for you. We're delving into the fascinating topic of streaking and intensity. We'll be discussing how streaking allows you to be intense without burning out. When you're intense all the time, you create a firewall to the fire of your success. So, whether you're seasoned professional or just starting your career, join us on this journey to discover exactly how to use streaking to increase your productivity and set a floor for your periodic intensity. So let's start streaking. What is streaking and why should you do it?
Streaking is how you set up personal winning streaks. Look at who you want to be and what you need to do to become that person. This is streaking.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jami.
And we are streakers. Through 30 years of marriage and 7 children, we have learned the power of consecutive consistency or streaking.
To start streaking is simple. You just follow these 3 laws. Make it laughably simple, keep a record, and join the streaking community.
Streaking is your hidden superpower. With it, you will consistently progress and grow in whatever area of life you want.
In this podcast, Jeff and I will share all the fun, exciting, serious, solemn, wonderful parts of family, spiritual, professional, and personal life, and how streaking powers it all.
So join us in the conversation, join the movement, and start streaking today. Hey there, Streakers. Welcome back to another episode of Streaking. I'm Jeff, and with me today, as always, is the lovely, beautiful, insightful Jami. How's it going?
It's going great. Good morning. I'm doing awesome. I'm super thrilled about today's conversation. We're going to be diving deep into the world of work and exploring 2 critical concepts: intensity of work versus the consistency and consecutive importance of work, or streaking.
Love that topic. So, in today's fast-paced world, finding the most effective way to work is crucial. So let's kick off our discussion by defining these 2 concepts. So Jami, why don't you launch into and explain what we mean by intensity of work?
All right, absolutely. So intensity of work refers to the level of focus, energy, and effort that we put into our work during a given period. It's about working hard and smart, pushing ourselves to get more done in a shorter amount of time.
And what about consistency and the consecutive importance of work? How does that differ from the intensity?
Okay, so consistency and consecutive importance of work focus on the idea of maintaining a steady, regular work rhythm over an extended period of time. It's about showing up every day, putting in the hours, and gradually making progress towards our goals.
Putting in the hours. I love that. So we're looking at 2 distinct approaches to work. One that's focused on bursts of high intensity effort, and another that emphasizes steady and consistent effort over time. So let's dive deeper into each approach and discuss the pros and cons. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
So why don't you walk us through the benefits of high intensity work?
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit today about deep work, focus, and productivity. We're going to talk a little bit about Parkinson's law. We're going to talk about the importance of breaks and downtime and potential for burnout and overworking. So one of the key benefits of high intensity work is that it can lead to increased productivity. By dedicating our full attention and energy to a single task, we can achieve what's known as deep work, which allows us to accomplish more in less time.
I've done quite a bit of study on deep work, and I know you have as well. So go ahead and term it for us, or define it for us. Perfect. I don't know why term came from. But
I will term deep
term
work
it
for
us.
Deep work is a term coined by Cal Newport, a computer science professor and author of the book Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. We're not distracted at all.
No, zero distractions.
The concept of deep work revolves around the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks. It's about entering a state or a flow where you're able to produce high quality work in less time than you would if you were interrupted or distracted.
I think about deep work, and it's a valuable skill, especially in today's fast-paced and often distracting work environment.
Totally.
So as we look at the benefits of practicing deep work, what are they?
All right. So I would say one of the main benefits of deep work is that it leads to increased productivity. When you're able to focus intensely on a task without being interrupted, you can accomplish more in less time. And this is because you're not wasting time and mental energy constantly switching between tasks and trying to regain focus after a distraction.
Yeah, and that's really a great point. I know that one of the areas where I can really do a lot of good work is when I do have that focus and I am distractionless. Mm-hmm. So as you look at it, and looking at deep work, it has the benefits in the sense of quality of work as well that we produce. Absolutely.
When you're fully immersed in a task and working in a state of flow.
Have you experienced that before?
A little bit. That's part of the reason I'm excited to talk about this is because we've talked a little bit about, as a mom, I'm more practiced at distraction and being able to focus in environments of constant interruption, and would love to get better at the concept of deep work and getting into this flow. Mm-hmm. Because when you're in that state of flow, you're more likely to produce work of a higher quality because you're able to have had less distractions. This is because you're able to think more deeply and creatively, which is awesome, about the task at hand, allowing you to generate innovative solutions and ideas.
So as I think about it and think about our streakers out there, how do we cultivate the ability to engage in deep work and make it a regular part of our routine? And I think we just had a conversation about this with Danny, who's going after his PhD.
We did. And that's really like such a great question of how do you cultivate this?
How do you really cultivate it? Yep.
So one way I would think is to develop the ability to engage in deep work is by setting a streak. To engage in at least one block of deep work weekly. And that's what you were referencing with Danny as he was working towards getting his PhD. He did set a streak.
And he set a streak at first to do 3 hours of deep work every day. Mm-hmm. Now, for him, that became too daunting. That was not laughably simple. It was hard to the point of he didn't do it at all. And it's really amazing to me how when we set something so hard that we shy away from it to the point where we won't do it at all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And what's interesting is so he ended up pulling it back a bit and setting a streak to do at least 1 hour of deep work each week.
And he found that was laughably simple for him each day. It wasn't each week. It was every single day. And that is, one of the areas that you look at as far as deep work is concerned. What is my laughably simple and how can I set it so that it's just 1 hour a day? And that's really, streakers, one of the things that you need to look at is during the time of deep work, you'll want to minimize your distractions. One of the features on Microsoft Word, for example, is focus, where it minimizes all the other windows and noise, and it has just, if you're writing or typing, whatever it is that you're working on, it takes all that noise out of the picture and puts you in a place where you can focus on just what it is you're looking at.
And you also might want to change your environment to working in a quiet or a clutter-free space. And this is something that Danny did do when he was setting his streak, is that he picked a specific place that he would do his deep work each time. And he had a specific routine that he would go through each time that he did that. And part of that routine that I found was intriguing is that he put a sign out on the door of his office that let his family know that he was in deep work for a certain period of time. Yeah. So that they would know, okay, we're going to give Dad the opportunity to work and not have those interruptions.
I want you to riff a little bit on your preparation for your law keynote, when you did it for the law group keynote, and what you did to get into deep work, because remember, you would take the car.
I would. And because I was struggling at home, can be a difficult place for me to not have distractions because it's where I work regularly. So the dishes are a distraction, or the phone is a distraction, or even just sitting in my bedroom looking at the laundry or different things that need to be done.
Any number of projects that you have.
Anything for me can be a distraction. And so I found that I thought I need to leave. I need to go someplace where I can prep for this keynote that I was doing. So I went in my car and drove to a park and went to the farthest place in the parking lot of this park where nobody was parking, so that I could practice out loud and totally get into what we had talked about that flow.
I think that's so cool that the car became your office.
Yes.
And your distraction-free place where you could really get into the flow of it. This also relates nicely to a law called Parkinson's law.
Yes. So
explain a little bit.
Okay.
So those who aren't familiar, explain a little bit what that is.
So Parkinson's law can give us, let's give a quick overview of what this intriguing principle is. Parkinson's law is a concept that was first introduced by British historian and author Cyril Northcote Parkinson in 1955 in an article for The Economist. The law is based on observation that work tends to expand to fill the time available for its completion. In other words, if you give yourself 2 hours to complete a task that could be done in 1 hour, you're going to likely take the full 2 hours to finish it.
Wow. So in other words, basically, if I want to delay or stall.
Yes, give yourself lots of time to do a task that can be done in an hour.
In a 30-minute task and say it's going to take me 4 hours to do it.
Yes. And what's fascinating about this, and that I know this is true because I've seen it in my own personal life, is that having a deadline forces you to make decisions quicker.
Right.
When you give yourself more time, you evaluate more, you look at and you want it to be a certain level of perfectness. Whereas a deadline forces you to say, okay, this is good, let's move on. And with that, so the more time you give yourself, the more time you're going to take.
As I look at this law and I consider the intensity of work and productivity, how do those two relate?
When we understand Parkinson's law, now we can use it to our advantage by setting tighter deadlines for tasks, as I was saying, which can encourage us to work more intensely and more efficiently. So by doing so, we can actually increase our productivity and truly get more done in less time.
So in essence, Parkinson's law highlights the importance of setting realistic and challenging deadlines for ourselves, which can help us maintain a high level of intensity and focus in our work, which can lead to better time management and also productivity.
Exactly. And it's all about being mindful of the time that we allocate to tasks and finding ways to optimize our work processes. By leveraging the principles of Parkinson's law, we can challenge ourselves to work with greater intensity and efficiency. And ultimately, that's going to lead to improved productivity and higher and greater success.
Highly insightful. If you have not looked into Parkinson's law, do it. The Parkinson's law can be a powerful tool in our quest to strike the right balance between intensity and consistency in our work lives. So we've talked a lot about the intensity of work, deep work, and Parkinson's law. Now it's important to think about and talk about breaks.
Yeah.
And that downtime plays a crucial role in our overall productivity.
Yep.
So, Jami, share with us some of the insights that you've had on the importance of taking breaks and allowing ourselves downtime during work days.
Absolutely. So taking breaks and allowing ourselves downtimes is essential for maintaining productivity and honestly preventing burnout. When we work for long periods without breaks, our focus and our mental energy can begin to wane, leading to decreased efficiency and both productivity. In contrast, taking regular breaks helps to refresh our minds, it restores our focus, and recharge our energy levels.
As I look at the breaks that I've taken, one of the things that we've talked about is why coffee is such a prevalent beverage that we have.
Yes.
And coffee being a prevalent beverage, I don't drink coffee. And so I don't get that caffeine high, if you will, or that caffeine charge that keeps me going. So you and I were talking just the other day about how we should really take coffee naps.
Yes.
Which is taking a nap, which is our cup of coffee, for 20, 25 minutes in order to get recharged. And I have found that that really helps. You
call it your cup of joe. I'm going to go get my cup of joe, yes. Which really is, I'm going to go take 20 minutes and just... And I love sometimes, someone once told me to schedule a nap in the day and not to look at it like you have to sleep, but just allow yourself to close your eyes, focus on your breathing, and just take some downtime.
And I definitely fall asleep, just to let you know,
which is awesome.
When I do that. So what are some of the effective strategies for, and you just came up with one actually, the effective strategies for coming up with breaks in our work time routine? The words are just not coming out today.
So there's another effective strategy that's called the Pomodoro technique.
Whoa. This
which
sounds
is
interesting.
awesome. I know. This time management, so it's a time management methodology, and it involves breaking your work into intervals, typically 25 minutes long, called Pomodoros. And each Pomodoro is then followed by a short 5-minute break. After completing 4 Pomodoros, you can take a longer break around 15 to 30 minutes.
I honestly have not heard of that technique before.
I hadn't heard of it a lot either, and I want to even study it more because I feel like recognize it. So somebody may take a Pomodoro. This may encourage them to take downtime, to take breaks in between. As a stay-at-home mom, I thought it would work well for me to be able to focus for 25 minutes on a particular task and not allow myself to get distracted, to look at it and say, okay, whatever else comes into my mind for the next 25 minutes, I am just focusing on this. And then whatever I need to, I'll take a 5-minute break and then come back. So I think it can work both ways. It can help you be able to take a break, but it also can be used as a tool to help you have a level of intense focus for 25 minutes and then add that up to, because what is 25 minutes? 25 minutes 4 times, that's 100 minutes. You're just talking barely over 2-hour time period with breaks included.
With breaks included. That's it's a great technique and something I know that you got excited about. Now, looking at our workday and downtime, how can we make sure that we're giving ourselves enough time to relax and to recharge outside of work? What do you think on that?
I think this is a question that we're all asking ourselves all the time. And I think to ensure that we're getting enough downtime, it's important to establish boundaries between work and personal life. And that's something that has become more blurred as technology has allowed us to become more accessible all the time.
At home, yeah.
And so setting these boundaries has become more of something that has to be more intentional, where it used to be that people would drive to work and drive home. When COVID happened and more people started working at home, that personal and professional life became more blurred. And there's positive things to that. But I still strongly recognize that boundaries are important, that we need to be able to have some level of boundaries. And so this may involve setting specific work hours if you need to, and then challenging yourself to stick to them. It may include creating a dedicated workspace separate from your living area, even if it's a dedicated, just a small section of an area, like this is my work desk, even though it's in my living room. It can be committing to not checking work emails or messages during your personal time.
Always tough things.
Always tough things.
I have worked from home for probably of our married lives. So we've been married 32 years. Of that time, I've probably worked in an office maybe 5 years. Outside of the home.
Outside of the home, yeah.
Other times I've had an office in here. You've always had your office here. And I found that having the office separate from our living space is absolutely important.
Yeah.
Because there is something, when I walk in that door, I'm working. When I walk out of that door, I feel like I'm away from work. And it's something about not coming in here, or if I come in here during non-work hours, if you will, or during the hours that I've determined not to work, bringing a child with me or something like that can help keep the personal time.
Difference.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
This reminds me this morning, the last couple of days, I've been talking with Chance as he comes upstairs from waking up in the morning. And I've been noticing that he is sleeping in the clothes that he wore to school the day before. And I've asked him a couple times, I'm like, are you sleeping in the clothes? You're not putting pajamas on at night. And he asked me the question. He's like, I don't understand why it's important to put pajamas on. Why can't I just, when I'm tired, why can't I just sleep in my clothes? And I thought about that. And of course, there's hygiene issues with it. But really, a lot of it, too, is that transition that you are telling your mind and your body that you are transitioning from a day of working to now I'm transitioning to physically relaxing and sleeping. And having those cues in place really help transition. And so an environment has a lot to do with transitioning so that you're working, you're communicating to your mind and your body, this is where I work, and when I leave, this is where I relax.
Okay, can I tell you an interesting story on that one? When I was traveling internationally, international flights range in time from anywhere from 7 hours to 18 hours, just depending on where you're going. I would intentionally get up after the flight took off, go into the airplane bathroom, change into my pajamas, and come out and lay the seat all the way back. Yes, clients
That's when you got first class.
That's when I got first class, when clients paid me to do first class. But I would lay down and I would go to sleep, and I would have a great sleep because, to your point, I mentally transitioned from where I was in an airplane to I'm now telling my body I'm going to sleep.
Yes.
And that was critical to get the rest. And I know that when I did that, I had a much better experience with jet lag and transitioning from jet lag and really being ready for the particular client that I was working with.
Right.
Kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah, totally.
And by the way, I wear Mickey Mouse jammies in the flight attendant.
And you wore them on the plane?
I did. I wore them on the plane. The flight attendant would always make fun of me. Oh, Mickey Mouse
Mickey
jammies.
Mouse pajamas. It is an interesting thing, though.
I love those jammies, though. Now they have a hole in them. I need to get new ones.
We can do that.
Okay. So anyway.
Back to on topic.
On topic as we go. Our downtime is so important in maintaining our well-being and our overall life satisfaction.
Totally. And engaging in hobbies and spending time with our family and our loved ones, exercising or simply enjoying leisure activities can help to reduce stress. And we all know this. It improves our mental health. It helps us maintain a sense of balance in our lives. So prioritizing self-care.
Hot topic.
Hot topic right now.
We should have a little bell. Hot topic, hot topic.
Prioritizing self-care and relaxation during downtime really is essential for staying productive and happy in the long run. And we have some...
Sometimes when we do this and I interrupt you and I say downtime and we laugh at each other, I think sometimes, like, remember when we'd stand in line and we'd laugh and we're like, we're the only people in the world that think we're funny.
We are.
And she's looking at me right now going, could we get back
We're
on topic,
moving
please?
on. Nobody's thinking this is funny.
Okay.
I was going to say that we have a streaker.
I do? Go ahead. Sorry. I will behave myself now.
We have a streaker that has set a streak. She has a list of hobbies and interests. She calls it her artist list. And what she said is that when she thought about, so she wanted to continue to do this where she had downtime to focus on her hobbies. But she had so many of them, she didn't want to set a daily or even a weekly streak around each one of them individually. So what she did is she created a list of all the things that she likes to do artistically that included music and baking and drawing and listening to music and playing music, all these different things, crocheting. She has a whole list of different things that are her hobbies and interests. And her streak is to pick something from that list or add something to that list every day, which I think is a fantastic way to stay mentally healthy. To have good mental health and to stay sharp and being able to continue pursuing those hobbies and interests.
Well, and really that allows us to maintain intensity and focus during the work hours because we know that those things are coming up.
Exactly.
Okay. Whew. That was quite the topic.
That was good.
Let's get into consistency, and one of our favorite topics is consistency and consecutive work, or in other words, streaking. So let's take a look we're going to look at the pros and cons of this. And as we look at this, we're going to be building streaks and discipline, how we do that, long-term success and progress, overcoming procrastination and resistance and risk of plateauing and complacency. Now, on those last two, we're probably not going to get those today.
Probably not today.
We're gonna strive to get to them, but we're probably not going to get to them today. So let's get going on consistency and consecutiveness.
Okay, so let's take a minute and discuss the benefits of consistency and consecutive importance of work or streaking. One key advantage is that it helps us build the consecutive muscle. And this is something you say all the time.
The consecutive muscle is so crucial because this steady, consistent approach just has long-term benefits and success. You continue to progress. Putting in the work day after day, you can stand on the floor, which we talk a lot about, of everyday success to reach for your particular goals. Oh, is that me? Is it still my turn?
Unless you want me to riff in here.
No, that's okay.
Because I think what you said, so I do love the standing on the floor.
You were just going to let me hang out there, weren't you?
Hang and
hang. So far, we've explored various concepts related to productivity and work-life harmony, one of our favorite things from Megan Summerall. But another important aspect is building streaks into work. All right, Jamie, now will you shed some light on why establishing streaks is essential for our productivity and success?
Oh, would love to,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Establishing streaks in work helps create a sense of structure and predictability, making it easier for us to maintain focus and consistency. When we develop streaks, our actions become more ingrained in what we're doing, which means we spend less mental time figuring out what we're going to do and more time looking at it and saying, okay, when am I going to do it? And even sometimes the streak can help free up the time of thinking about when we're going to do it, which frees up a lot of cognitive time to think about other things.
Right.
And this gives us the opportunity to think about the more important tasks. And ultimately, this will lead to greater productivity.
The brain is a great conservatory of energy. It doesn't want to spend a lot of energy. And therefore, when you set up streaks, especially the laughably small ones, and this is one of the things that our friend over in the United States Running Streak Association, President Mark, come on, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. I mean, we talk about him all the time.
I know.
Keep thinking about it.
Okay.
But he says, it's not if I'm going to run today, it's when. And it just changes your whole aspect of when you're looking at and considering what it is you're doing. I read that Steve Jobs in his book in his biography that was written, I read that he liked having just one choice of clothes because he didn't have to spend cognitive energy on choosing what his outfit would be for the day.
And I think it's interesting when I read that too. I remember thinking how fascinating that he was so intentional about thinking about where he was spending his brain time.
Yeah.
And that he thought, okay, where are things that I can minimize having to make decisions that I don't want to, that aren't important to me? Because in my mind, that's what he was saying is he's like, I don't need to spend time deciding what I'm going to wear. It's not important to me. I don't care.
Right.
I want to spend. And so it was a recognition that our mental resources are somewhat finite, that we need to use them intentionally and being able to say, okay, what decisions can I make that become that I don't have to spend as much time thinking about.
Right.
And are there more intentionally.
So so the question we have is, how do you identify and choose streaks that are going to work for you and in work?
Yeah. And this is a question that I think we ask ourselves all the time. And I would say the first way is you start building your streaks is to identify key activities or tasks that contribute the most to your success, and then prioritizing them. And it's looking at both the person that you want to be and the things that you need to get done, and looking at it and saying, what things are most important here, and how am I going to prioritize them? And I say that like, oh, you just prioritize them. I actually find that exercise to be sometimes kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to look at all of these things and they're all important. But it is super crucial to pick one or two when you start streaking and say, okay, for right now, I'm going to say these are the most important and I'm going to set a streak around them.
Yeah.
And then once you've identified those key activities, then you make a commitment to perform them consistently. And I would say that is the definition of streaking. What is streaking? It's making a commitment to perform your activities consistently. That's what's going to keep you going. The streak is the commitment.
I think about the streaks that I have in the professional environment and why I have them. For example, 10 or less emails in my inbox at the end of the workday. Critical for responsiveness and the person who I want to be, which is responsive. Now, some may look at that and say, that is not a laughably simple streak. For me, it is. It may be a little bit of a forced laugh, but for me it is. And what it has done to free up my cognitive time, to be able to respond quickly to requests, and then to be able to spend the time and energy and effort on areas where I can perform strategically better work and more valuable work has been absolutely crucial. Another one of my work streaks that I have. Go ahead. Yeah, you want to riff on that?
Yeah, because I look at that streak a lot as a prime example of learning how to make decisions quickly, because you did two things when you set that streak. Is you started looking at emails that you could unsubscribe to. So you're like, okay, there are a whole bunch of things in here that are coming in automatically that I don't want to waste time even looking at. So you started unsubscribing.
Right.
And then the second thing that you did was you created a system.
Yeah.
So that you could make those decisions more quickly in the sense that you had a folder that you're like, I'm going to put things that I have to cycle back into here. Or my favorite is when you would say, I respond to people knowing they'll send me another email back because that works as a reminder. But that also communicates that you've responded to them.
You start to learn about people's communication patterns, because there are people who I know if I send something, they'll send something back so I can clear it out of my inbox.
Exactly.
And so that's just how they communicate. So it's not like I'm, setting it up so that they could be that way. It's just I learned these communication patterns.
And so, and that's the whole process that I love about that streak is it's taught you how to make decisions quicker. And in essence, exactly what we're talking about. You became more productive, more efficient, and doing more in less period of time.
One of the statements in my B statement is I want to be an effective, engaging, energizing, enthusiastic, empowering, thought-provoking, persuasive leader.
That is a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. Will you hand me those deck of cards right there? So what Jami's handing me is, this is out of Stephen M. R. Covey's new book, Trust and Inspire. And at Franklin Covey, one of the things that we produce all the time are these transformation cards. About 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, I think it was longer than that, almost 4 years ago, I was in one of our workshops and we were talking about how to get better as a leader. Now, as you, and see if this is true for you, Streakers, and Jami, I ask this question of you too. You sit in a workshop, you get motivated by a conference, you are listening to a keynote speaker, maybe even a TED Talk. Mm-hmm. And in it, you hear something that you commit to doing. You're like, you know what? I want to do that. I am going to do that. And you walk out of it, and 2 days later, you realize that thing that you committed to, you're not doing at all anymore.
It is so easy to fall back into what comes naturally and very difficult to add something new.
So in this instance, in this workshop I was in 3-4 years ago, the instructor at the time challenged us to review the transformation cards. Now, it wasn't these transformation cards, but it was a deck of transformation cards. And at that moment, I thought to myself, you know what? I want to do this. And so I'm going to set a streak to review at least one of these cards every single day. Mm-hmm. That was 4 years ago. And I've done it every single day with any number of transformation cards. And talk about using cognitive energy for something that's positive and valuable. That's exactly what this did for me. So the streak freed all of that up. And tracking and celebrating the streak also is motivating, and it reinforces the positive behavior.
Totally reinforces the positive behavior. Tracking your streaks either through an app like the Streakin app, which is actually fantastic.
Shameless plug.
Or even
it is really fantastic.
It really is, because it does all of these things that we're going to talk about. So you can track it through the app, through the Streakin app. Some people, it could be as simple as just marking them off on a calendar.
That's where you started.
That's where I started.
Until you got multiple streaks, that's where you started.
Either way, this helps you be accountable and to stay motivated. Another thing is celebrating your achievements, no matter how small, can also provide a sense of accomplishment and reinforce your commitment to maintaining your streaks. And that's one of the things that I love about the Streakin app. And honestly, why we started with the calendar, but why I needed more, is that marking off of that streak every single time is a small celebration. Yeah. It's something that shows that you're doing it every single day.
You call it the journal of your success.
I do.
And when you look at it, and this is how I feel about it as well.
Daily successes.
Yeah, the journey of your daily successes. Mm-hmm. And that is the small wins that we all look for. So we've discussed streaking, deep work, the importance of streaks in downtime, or breaks in downtime, and achieving productivity and success. Another interesting aspect to consider is the idea that confidence grows as we experience daily wins.
Absolutely. The idea of confidence growing with our daily wins it's based on the notion that when we experience a sense of accomplishment every single day, it creates a positive feedback loop that fuels our motivation and self-assurance.
I love that positive feedback.
I do too.
That's really good to think about.
Because we talk so much about feedback loops being negative. Mm-hmm. And even like you said, as a DJ, if there's a feedback loop, if someone stands in front of the mic,
well, if you put the microphone in front of the speaker, and we've all heard it before, you hear that ear-piercing screech.
Yes.
That everyone covers up, and that is the negative feedback loop.
Right. And then we've talked about mental health, where people can get into a negative feedback loop in the way that they think about things. So I love this idea of looking at your daily accomplishments, those simple things that you're doing each day, as creating a positive feedback loop. And that feedback loop really does help us have greater motivation and self-assurance. We feel more confident because we're keeping our commitments and we're moving forward. Essentially, consistent wins build our confidence.
And I've felt that as I've been streaking. I feel my confidence growing. And it's interesting because the confidence grows that I can do this. One of the topics that we talked about just recently is what's hard about streaking.
Yeah.
You remember this? We talked about what's hard. Why is starting streaking so hard? And one of my favorite answers that we won't have time to talk about in this podcast was, well, because of our relationship with consistency has been so troubled.
Yes.
I've broken up with consistency so many times. And what happens is we lack the confidence to be consistent. Whereas when you start streaking, you gain that confidence back.
Yes.
So streakers, to tap into this positive feedback loop and to use it to your advantage, there are a few ways that you can do this.
I would say one way is by focusing on accomplishing tasks and activities that align with your larger objectives each day, as well as aligning with
who you want to be.
Yeah. That is so huge. As you are looking at who you want to be and doing your streaks, you're ensuring that you make progress every day. You create a series of wins that boost confidence and motivation. And having confidence and motivation helps us to be able to continue working towards our goals.
As I reflect on those daily accomplishments and acknowledging the progress, that is a reinforcement of the positive feedback loop.
Yeah, definitely. So recognizing and reflecting on our achievements, even on a daily basis, or I would say especially on a daily basis, can help us maintain a positive mindset, a growth mindset, which will help us to stay motivated and also give us the ability to remain more committed to those goals. And this in turn can lead to even greater progress and success over time. And it just becomes like an upward spiral of success.
Hey, that's a book that I'm reading right now, is The Upward Spiral. And I'm going to appeal to Dr. Alex Korb to be on our podcast in the near future. Okay, so speaking of building streaks, I think in our final moments here that we have, let's review the 3 laws of streaking, because those are critical. And then we'll talk a little bit about application.
All right, so the 3 laws of streaking are: number 1, make it laughably simple. To create a successful streak, start with a task or action that is so simple it almost seems ridiculous. This helps ensure that you'll be able to consistently complete the task, even on your busiest and most challenging days. The second thing, law number 2, is keep a record. Tracking your streaks is truly essential for maintaining both accountability and motivation.
Yep.
And I love that we've recognized that component, that it's both an accountability thing, but also a motivation. By keeping a record of your progress, you visually can see the consistency that you've built, which truly encourages you to keep going.
Yeah.
Then law number 3 is create a community. Sharing your streaks with others, either through social media, which can be other social media, or on our app.
Which is the most positive social media in the world. And it's something that you'll definitely want to follow.
Or in person, sharing your streaks in person can provide additional motivation.
I really like that. There's so many times where you and I are speaking and people will come up to us and say, I have a streak. And they want to share it with us.
They want to share it in person.
And we get so excited about what it is that they have been streaking.
Yep. And they're excited because it's an exciting thing to share. Building a community around our streak allows us to celebrate our successes together.
Yeah.
And when we celebrate those successes together,
you can do it.
It helps us to both be motivated and then also to stay accountable to our goals.
When I look at the 3 laws of streaking, they provide this simple, powerful blueprint for setting up winning streaks that lead to lasting and positive change in your life.
Yep. By following the laws of streaking, we can create streaks that are easy to maintain and ultimately lead to improved productivity in work and in our home lives, and success, and honestly, overall well-being.
Yeah. Okay, streakers, you're looking to establish your streaks in work or other areas of your life. Remember, make it laughably simple, track your progress, and share your journey with others along the way. And following these 3 laws, you'll be well on your way to building successful streaks that can truly transform your life. We hope that you'll join us on our next podcast when we talk a little bit about what we said before, plateauing or procrastination, as well as some other really exciting areas in the sense of finding the balance between intensity and consistency, or said another way, really making consistency the floor of your intensity, which gives you the opportunity to do it for many, many years, which we found quite successful. If you'd like to ask questions of Jami or I, you are always welcome to download the Streakin app, and on there, follow us. Post about your own streaks. You can follow our streaks. You'll see that we post all the time. If you become a super streaker on the app, you'll have more content that you can look at and review. Talon and I do a daily podcast on the Streakin app where you can see daily tips and tricks that will lead you to better success in streaking. If you want to reach out to us directly, you can always do that via email. I'm Jeffrey at JEFFERY at Streakin or at thestreakingapp.com. Sorry, still
getting
rolling
it
off the tongue.
And I'm Jami, Jami, at thestreakingapp.com.
We hope that you have fantastic success and productivity, and that you're able to set up streaks that keep the floor of your success always growing. Until we talk again,
keep streaking.
Things that make a better